Hello to each of you and welcome to another edition of Faith to Live By, my weekly podcast where I help us explore current events from a biblical and prophetic perspective. I'm Pam Christian, your host and truth advocate, where together we explore current events from a biblical and prophetic perspective so we can know what God wants us to understand, so we can recognize evil and partner with God to push evil back and see God's kingdom will done on earth as it is in heaven. As a truth seeker with this podcast since 2020, my goal is to share what I have learned and present my current understandings with intentions for you to do more research and critical thinking to decide matters for yourself. There is a lot of truth coming out now, dispelling the controlled narratives we've been influenced by for decades. People are responding to this new information in a variety of ways as they are able to process what is now being revealed. These are difficult days, but most essential for truth to prevail and hope to be restored. Today, I'm especially pleased to tell you Mel K is my guest. It's been a long time since I've had her on the podcast, but I have to say, having her on now, in light of all that's going on worldwide, is the perfect timing. We're going to explore the advancement of technocracy, which, as Mel explains, is a blatant and egregious violation of our constitutional rights and freedoms. And I'll add, should bring charges of treason against those who have enacted it for not taking it to we the people to decide. Mel is a conservative journalist, filmmaker, and podcaster known for her well-researched, thought-provoking work. With a background in journalism and film from NYU, she has spent over 2 decades in Hollywood, crafting meticulously researched historical dramas for film and television, with the realization that truth is often hidden beneath layers of deception. Fueled by a passion to expose hidden truths, Mel has taken a stand against global agendas that threaten our freedoms with a movement that transcends traditional media, largely presented through her podcasts, The Mel K Show. When you read her full bio using the links in the show notes, you'll understand why I personally gravitate toward her and her work. We are highly kindred in our desire to seek and promote truth, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient it may be. Mel speaks quickly and with confidence, and you may find she briefly runs by a topic or a point you aren't completely familiar with. No problem, because she has an excellent resource page on her website for listeners to do deeper study for themselves. Today, Mel will be sharing about the greatest threat to humanity worldwide and how every single one of us must find our courage to oppose this ominous reality or find ourselves being slaves of evil. Before I bring Mel on, however, I want to make sure to announce details about our Greece tour. If you've been thinking about joining us on our Greece tour, now is the time to sign up to assure your place. The tour is called The Footsteps of the Apostle Paul because we'll be visiting many of the places he preached, really allowing the historical events of our faith to come alive in our hearts. So if you've been contemplating joining, you'll want to make your reservation now. Refunds are available up to the deadline, which you can learn about using the link in the show notes. To be sure you are on the reservation list, send me an email to faithtoliveby@PamelaChristianMinistries.com with the word Greece in the subject line. Place all of your contact detail in the body of the email and the total number of people in your party. Get that to me right away and expect me to reply so we can confirm your reservation and learn of any special needs or requests you may have. Space is limited and we expect to see it fill up fast, so be sure to get your email to me. If you didn't get a chance to write down what I just shared, I'll review it again later in the program. Please don't wait to reserve your place. Okay, with that, now let me ask you to listen to part 1 of my 3-part interview with Mel K. Mel K, what an honor to have you on my podcast and to have you with my audience to hear what's really on your mind. And I have been listening to you, and I have to agree. What's on your mind, what we're going to talk about today, is probably one of the most critical topics in our day. Forget Epstein, forget all these other things that are going on. This is it. And so why don't you start us off, please?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you and your audience. Honestly, I have been working for many years now trying to figure out exactly what happened to our nation. I look at it as a captured country that many people have the illusion that we are free and sovereign, and yet slowly but surely our Constitution and Bill of Rights have been decimated, particularly after the passing of what I call the unconstitutional Patriot Act and then the weaponization of the Patriot Act against us, and looking into how all that happened. Where we find ourselves now is many of us, I know I met you on the road. I was on the road for about 4 years. Really doing everything I could to wake the people up as to the global public private partnership that I believe controls not just our country, but the entire international banking, international organization system that we have been under since World War II. And what they are proposing, Agenda 2030, that they've been working on. First, it was Agenda 21. Then it became Agenda 2030. Without the consent of the governed, of the people of the United States of America, Barack Obama signed the United States onto Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. But what he did not tell the people, among everything else, was that Agenda 2030 is a nation state ending program. It is 100% about global governance, the same international banking cartel, as I call them, that have been running basically the world since they infiltrated our country with the Federal Reserve. They have long wanted a global governance model from top down with what they consider themselves the superclass in America. You know, that would be the Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, all of the NGOs of Soros and Rockefeller, and all these people that seem to function above our nation and really guide our policy in a country that's supposed to be by the people, for the people. The scary part of what's happening now is that I've been sounding the alarm for many years about Agenda 2030, about the fourth industrial revolution, which includes transhumanism and surveillance under the skin. And all of these things that are promoted by the World Economic Forum, which I consider to be basically the PR firm of this international cabal. And what is happening is that we all fought really hard for Trump to win and take back the country. And I believe God has a big part in America, not just in the founding of our nation, but in the survival of our nation. And the American people have to understand Trump's win was a chance for us to take back our country, not for Trump to save our country. That is not what happened on the election night of this past year. What happened was the American people were given a chance to save America as we created it. And, you know, we're only 250 years old. We are still the founders of this nation. Maybe we're not the men that wrote the amazing Constitution and Bill of Rights and Declaration of Independence, but we are still in the early stages of this nation, and we should all feel not just a pride and a connection in our DNA and in our whole being to this nation, but we should also realize that, as been warned from Ben Franklin to Eisenhower to JFK to Ronald Reagan, that, it is a slippery slope, and we will always be this country that others look at as maybe with envy, maybe with the need to dominate, but certainly, in my estimation, the international cartel out of basically the city of London never accepted the revolution.
Right.
So when they came back in through the banking system and then building the railroads and a lot of things that they did, it's my belief that King George and the international bankers of the city of London went back and they decided to come in, as JFK called it, infiltration instead of invasion. And from that point on, many things happened in this country that was not would never have happened if the founders that actually created this nation were still alive. But the problem is that we became a consumer society by design. We obviously are entertainment, media, all of it played a part in making Americans apathetic to the idea that liberty is something and unalienable rights are something that, is inherent, is unique to this country. And it's the only place on in the whole world, which is why everyone wants to come here, where people have auto determination, where the government is not supposed to be in your life, where there is no monarchy, no oligarchy, no and frankly, we because of the distractions, I believe, and then the actual multiple wars, but really the entrance of Obama into formally a global partnership with the world to start and it had been going on for decades of the pushing of everything's global citizen, global pandemic, global warming, global for by design. It's linguistic programming, and I think that by the time they slipped it through, the American people didn't hear what they were saying anymore, which was end of national sovereignty, end of national constitutions, end of national pride and all of it. And frankly, we've been in a color revolution ever since to bring America to its knees so that we beg for it.
Right.
And sadly enough, Donald Trump is in there with a lot of the people that built this, a lot of the people that built the prototype, which runs in China. Of course, BlackRock is in China, but so are a lot of Oracle, Elon Musk. I don't know about Palantir, but they're certainly in the EU, which I do not see as an ally of America at this point. And I don't think they ever were. And at this point, the American people have to step back and be like, do you still want your sovereignty? Do you still want your liberty, your auto determination, your privacy, your freedom? Because one click of the switch after what he's creating with the Skynet. I think a lot of us were very shocked when at the inauguration, all the tech guys who were previously against him were seated around him instead of the heroes that, some of them went to jail and stuff. I would have liked to see the people that fought for the 4 years that he was under lawfare more prominent, but it was the tech guys. And of course, we know Elon Musk and David Sachs and the Silicon Valley, PayPal people, particularly also Peter Thiel, who's obviously the mentor, I think, it appears, to Vance. They got the spotlight. And then, we had Larry Ellison of Oracle and Sam Altman of OpenAI within a week at the White House announcing basically a Skynet. Then it evolved, and now we're at a place where they're talking about our health records being interoperable on the internet through the government. And I say, whoa. This is exactly what Agenda 2030 is. This is exactly what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is calling for. And it's antithetical to the United States of America. It is against our Constitution. And it's going to be up to the people to say no where they are and stop this insanity of linking us into this under the guise of efficiency or interoperability, which is really just technocracy. And that's the biggest problem right now with the distractions is, that is where we are.
You bring up the word technocracy, and that's something that I definitely wanted to make sure we talked about. I am personally pleased to see the exposure that Tulsi Gabbard has created and that subpoenas have been issued, and we're seeing more being pointing back to former President Obama if he was indeed a legitimate president, given his potential birthplace. But as much as I'm pleased to see that and it looks like accountability is possible, there is still, as you're pointing out, this push for technocracy, as you mentioned, for us to have our health records on the internet. When I heard about that, I was upset. I told my audience last week about how the European Union is now going to be doing biometrics on non-European visitors, tourists. And it's just going rampant while we're looking in another direction.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you're doing that because not everyone is. And we have to also remember Obama went into a deal with the Five Eyes nations that they have all our data too. And our data is our person. It is not in the United States of America. The government is not entitled to our data. And yet now they act as if they are on top of the Patriot Act being weaponized. Then they went into a deal with big tech. So big tech then and the Five Eyes nations now they have a deal with Palantir, and Palantir's been all over the country as as well, who also have a deal with the EU, which I want nothing to do with. I frankly think NATO is not a defensive force. It is an offensive force. It fights for the international banking cartel and the international organizations that make up the UN and all of the tentacles of the UN, and of course the elite class, as they consider themselves. Their groups, like, like I said, Trilateral, Council of Foreign Relations, Davos, Bilderberg. So what is really happening is that those people are all the same people that are doing this around the world, and yet they are being brought into the White House to announce these efficient new ways to use. They're going to put Chat GPT into every agency, all of that. Well, why would they be doing all of this if it wasn't about creating digital identities for everyone in America? And they're talking about doing that from birth to death, which is Agenda 2030's end goal, which is a full track and trace surveillance of every man, woman, child, animal, insect, plant, water, air, to be on a blockchain, track and traced and surveilled by the government, and in this case, global governance. So to me, if people don't understand, technocracy is godless. It is, there's no accountability. It's all algorithmic. It is fed what it's supposed to do by algorithms and, taking your data and synthesizing it. Palantir and others, Palantir, Maven and other groups, have also already been running basically, like Minority Report, pre-crime. And, not just pre-crime, when all of our kids were forced onto remote schooling during the pandemic, what people didn't realize is that your children now had dossiers open to them, on them, in big tech that were interoperable between multiple different groups to look at your children's data, that also can be used, as every, communist regime has always wanted, to actually push children in whatever direction the algorithms are pointing, without any real interaction. And this was a big push by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when they started giving out computers under the guise of Common Core, which was really compliance to the global order. And where we are now is that our children, all of their data, because now all schools basically have gone at least online, that parents can log in and see this and that. Not enough parents around the country are asking, well, who's on the back end of that data and where is it going? Because a lot of people were doing Google Classroom or Zoom Classroom. Well, there's a bunch of other contractors involved in that too, and they are sucking up your children's data. Especially with this new social emotional learning nonsense and CRT. And now they want to introduce mental health into public schools. They have, put, at least the Biden regime, put Planned Parenthood and counselors all over our country to the tune of 60,000 in public schools. This is all for surveillance. This is all for behavior modification, for nudging people in the direction of this global governance. And the end goal, because of the technology, which technocracy is technology used to efficiently run the government by expert classes, not elected officials, not, your local, friend that runs for the school board. No, replace it all with technology that efficiently uses AI and technology to make decisions that normally we would expect in a representative government. We would make, our representatives would fight for, and all of that. Well, like Noah Harari has said, technocracy is the end of all of that. Is the expert class and the technology class, or big tech, running everything without accountability or oversight, because of course that's how they're selling it, that this is much more efficient, it's not a big deal. We still don't even know what Doge was delving into, what was kept, who are the other partners. I think we can see who they are, but to me, this is already running in China, and everything that they're setting up is very similar. And I'm also concerned because they built the global public infrastructure. Elon Musk is part of building it. Ellison, Palantir, obviously, a lot of this is global. It was built globally. Barack Obama, after he signed on to Agenda 2030, there were trillions upon trillions of dollars invested in this global governance surveillance model that is supposedly 17 development goals, but it's really 17, guideposts to get to a global governance in a technocracy run by this small group of people that we would never vote for the people in big tech. You can't even have a conversation with most of these people in real life, and many of them are not just atheists, but anti-God. And this is the thing, taking out God and personal responsibility, auto-determination, inalienable rights, and saying under the guise of efficiency, we need to go into this new model that's technological rather than, human.
You brought up Elon Musk and Doge, and I was very concerned when President Trump had Elon Musk in the White House doing the work that he was doing. I have heard some things I have not been able to substantiate. Two questions for you then. First off, do you believe that Donald Trump is naive to a lot of this direction of selling out our country? And number two, is it true? Have you heard that Elon Musk was given the green light to actually put in his own servers in the White House? So you'll have to come back next week to hear her answers to those questions. But in review of this first interview, Mel started off with the quest to learn what happened to our country. She soon learned that what has happened to the United States is also happening in every other country in the world. There truly exists a self-appointed group of people who have been working for multiple decades to achieve a one-world government according to their agenda, first expected to be completed by 2021, then adjusted to be completed by 2030. This explains why the intensity has radically increased, especially in nations that oppose this effort, such as the United States of America, Israel, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Belarus, Syria, Nicaragua, and Hungary. Mel mentioned the Fourth Industrial Revolution, also known as Industry 4.0. This is an ongoing technological transformation characterized by the fusion of physical, digital, and biological spheres. It builds upon the previous industrial revolutions by integrating technologies like AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, robotics, and 3D printing, fundamentally changing how we live and work and interact. According to Mel K's research, globalist architects in the 1940s and 50s, operating through think tanks, financial institutions, and intelligence networks, built the framework for a future borderless, centralized system of control, which is code, by the way, for enslavement. The creation of the United Nations in 1945 and the CIA in 1947, two institutions that were sold to the public as protectors of peace and security, were actually created to concentrate power and influence policies far beyond the reach of voters. Technocracy is the vehicle that's been used to essentially overcome the sovereignty of nations to allow them to be absorbed into the system of a one-world government. Technocracy is a system of governance where decision-making is primarily guided by technical and intellectual experts, often in the fields like science or economics, rather than by elected politicians or the general public. It emphasizes the application of technical knowledge and expertise to solve societal problems and manage resources, potentially replacing democratic processes with a system of rule by experts. This is why it should be a major concern, producing outrage, especially for Americans, given the parameters of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As Mel explained, without consent of we the people, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and George Soros have been instrumental in moving the agenda for the devolution of America forward to the one world government. The role of track and trace technology, AI, and big data in establishing the technocracy systems is unsettling. However, even more unsettling is the possibility that anti-globalist leaders could be helping to set the stage for it. This point will be brought out even more in the second of this three-part interview. Mel explained in light of their Agenda 2030, it's clear that self-appointed elite want to have complete control over all human beings, animals, plants, and insects. They see all things, including the non-elite humans, as no more than possessions to be used and traded, even disposed of, as needed. Proponents for a one-world government either do not consider God exists, or they believe they can outsmart God. We have to understand our personal data is our private property. Yet what we buy, what we eat, where we go, our personal health records, and much more are all currently being tracked and traced. It may seem like convenience to us, and in fact, that's how they have sold us on allowing such personal data to be released. In reality, it has been the dream of every communist state to have the capabilities of so intensely monitoring and controlling people that we are now willingly but unwittingly giving away. Consider communist China and how the people there are tracked and traced to the point that use of their own bank accounts is controlled, and their social credit scores determine what they can do. Please understand the extreme importance of all of this. Mel also spoke of a color revolution. This term describes a series of popular uprisings, often nonviolent, that occur in post-Soviet states and other countries aiming to overthrow authoritarian or corrupt governments and establish Western-style democracies. These movements typically involve mass protests, civil disobedience, and the use of new media like the internet to organize and communicate. Clearly, proponents of a one-world government see all nations that want to keep their sovereignty as a corrupt government, which they want to overthrow with their color revolution. Mel also spoke of the Five Eye Nations, also known as the Five Eyes. This originally was a powerful intelligence alliance, particularly in signals intelligence, but also encompassed other areas like military and human intelligence between English-speaking nations of the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. This alliance grew out of the post-World War II Bressa Agreement, focusing on intelligence sharing and coordinated security efforts. The partners have shared a high degree of trust and cooperation with commitment to common values. This partnership has played a significant role in global security, particularly in countering threats such as terrorism, cybersecurity, weapons proliferation, and espionage. Well, that description may have been true in the past, but it most definitely is not today. Canada's current leadership adamantly opposes the United States and embraces the one world government. Additionally, using Google search, which is AI, I learned that the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand, as member states of the United Nations, are committed to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is the One World Government Agenda. Now, something important for me to insert here is that when I use Google AI search and I ask about a one world government, AI says it is a conspiracy theory. However, when I ask about Agenda 2030, AI reports it's viable under the United Nations. Keep in mind, people, AI is not about presenting truth, but about influencing people according to Agenda 2030. AI and ChatGPT, it's all part of technocracy. Mel made a highly profound statement when she said Trump's win was a chance for us to take back our country, not for President Trump to save it. And she asked us all, do you still want your sovereignty, your personal freedoms? Well, this reminds me of Jesus asking the man at the pool of Bethesda if he wanted to get well. The question is essential because only those who truly want a matter to the point of actually pursuing it have any chance of obtaining what they want. Hey, that was pretty good. You can quote me on that last statement. But the truth is, we will only be willing to pursue what we want if we value what we want. Mel K asks each of us, do you want individual liberty, which is personal freedom? Do you want personal sovereignty, which is self-ownership, free from unwanted external control? Do you want autodetermination, meaning self-determined choices to manage your own life? Do you want inalienable rights, which are God-given and not granted by man? As you ponder these points, consider not even God chooses to impose against any of these four concerns. Only evil-driven efforts seek to strip these rights from us. Mel also has some excellent suggestions of what we can do to make sure we maintain our Constitution and our rights here in America, which is the same model citizens of all other nations can follow to partner with God to save your nation. Mel will be with me for the next 2 weeks, so be sure to come back to learn what you can do. And by all means, share this podcast with others. We need everyone who is able to help us take back our freedoms and God-given rights from the efforts of the people who are sadly given over to evil. Now, here's an interesting aside. You likely know how it's become popular for sports figures to be referred to as GOATs, which is an acronym for the greatest of all times, right? Well, when Mel K was interviewed by Seth Holhouse in a post of July 26th, she brought out the fact that the mentality of the proponents to one world government means they think of themselves as superior goats while referring to all the people they want to enslave as sheep. This is apparently common nomenclature for the self-appointed elite, for them to think of themselves as goats and to think of the rest of us as sheep. Well, goats in Scripture are often used as symbols with both positive and negative connotations. In the parable of the sheep and the goats, goats are associated with evil and the devil. Additionally, the Baphomet, a figure that is often depicted with a goat's head, is commonly associated with evil. When it comes to nations, the Bible speaks of two types, goat nations and sheep nations. Biblically speaking, the term nations refers to people groups over geographic boundaries of countries. People groups are recognized for what they hold in common, especially the God they worship. It's important to know the Bible speaks of those nations that worship Him as sheep nations, and those that do not worship Him as goat nations. Proverbs 29:2 states, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when a wicked man rules, the people groan." We need to pray for God to raise up strong leaders in all His sheep nations to confront the United Nations and other supporting institutions to take back their sovereignty and disengage from Agenda 2030. We need to pray for all the citizens of all the countries of the world to wake up and take a stand to support their leadership in the preservation of their sovereignty and freedoms. Let us be diligent to pray for the people of all the nations of the world to turn to God and to partner with Him, to see the righteous rule in their nations. Pray for people everywhere to be bold and courageous and willing to rise up against this evil that seeks to enslave us. We cannot stand against this evil in our own strength or by our own plans and schemes. We need to seek the Lord for His specific plans of action, which He wants His people to complete. There have been many prophecies about God assuring our victory if we will partner with Him. We partner with God by agreeing with Him in prayer, calling down evil that He says will be defeated, and calling forth the righteousness He says will be raised. We do it by praying scriptures pertinent to our prayers and spiritual warfare focus. Keep in mind, especially since 2020, God has been exceedingly gracious to provide us with a vast amount of prophecies for these very days. This is different from prophecies in the Bible that were given for times in the distant future. No, God has been giving us wisdom, insight, and foreknowledge, so we can be assured He's at work in our midst today and that He's guiding us and directing us in what He expects of us today. The United States government was established by our founding fathers to operate by and for the people. It's a government of we the people. That means we have to be directly involved. Similarly, the kingdom of God operates in every nation on earth with God's people working in partnership with Him to see His kingdom will done on earth as it is in heaven. If we want to see the advancement of evil in this world pushed back, then we must seek the Lord to learn what He wants us to do, each one individually. Then, as we each do our part, the whole body will benefit. The whole world will benefit. Next week is part 2 of my interview with Mel K. You won't want to miss it, as she will help us understand more about how we got to the point we are and provides us with insight as to what we can and must do to turn our nations around. Now I ask you to please listen to my closing announcements and to take advantage of the many goods and services I bring you in an effort to at least cover the costs of this podcast. This first announcement clarifies more about the changes to our Greece tour scheduled for April 2026. If you haven't yet signed up to join us, please listen carefully and follow the instructions because I really want all of us to be able to meet up in Greece. It may seem far off, but most people make plans for a significant vacation about a year in advance. So if you haven't already expressed interest in traveling with us in April 2026, now is the time to do so. We want to have about 30 people total because this size group works best for the specific tour I have in mind. We'll be walking the footsteps of the Apostle Paul. I'm using the time between now and October 2025 to determine if we have enough interest, and the trend indicates we definitely should. We have just about 30 people on the list now, but I'd like to have more because when it comes to the actual day of making a commitment, things could have changed, and I want to be able to have at least 30 actually attend the tour. So, if you think you'd like to be part of the Faith to Live By Christian tour with me in Greece during April 2026, now's the time to get your name and number in your party on the list. There's no obligation at this point, you're just expressing your interest. Attendees need to arrange their own air travel to and from the Athens International Airport. To get your name on the list, send an email to faithtoliveby@PamelaChristianMinistries.com with the word Greece in the subject line. In the body of the email, provide your name, contact information, and number of people you expect to be in your party. This will place your name on the interested in attending list, but does not obligate you in any way. It merely assures you have first right of refusal when down payments are due. If you didn't get the details written down that I just shared, simply visit my Beyond the Podcast page using the link in the show notes. If you like what you hear from me with this podcast, I highly recommend my book series, my award-winning blog, and consider signing up for my certificate course in apologetics. My aim with that course is to help people learn how not only to use apologetics to share truth with others, but to help Christian leaders incorporate apologetics into their respective ministries so more Christians are learning how to share their faith. You can learn more by using the link in the show notes. For now, I offer my weekly podcasts, my blog, and bi-monthly e-newsletter at no cost. And certainly I have hard costs associated with doing all I do. If you've been blessed by my work and would like to help my work reach others, why not consider partnering with me? For as little as $10 a month, you can become a partner. Then together we can reach even more people for Jesus. Simply visit my Pamela Christian Ministries homepage and then click on the Give button at the top menu bar. Or if you prefer, you can go directly to the Give page using the link in the show notes. To become a partner, you can use my PayPal or Venmo account, but you will also see other ways you can support my work on that page. Whether you choose to become a monthly partner, give a one-time donation, purchase my books and products from my web store, or support my affiliate sponsors, anything you can do to help me continue this work would be greatly appreciated. And as always, your prayers and telling others about me and my ministry work is much needed. When it comes to my selection of affiliate sponsors, I first look for Christian-owned and operated businesses, and I make a point of personally using the products or services so I can fully endorse them. I seek sponsors that offer products or services you can get via the internet worldwide, and I specifically consider what is common to most people universally. So you'll find health, beauty, and wellness products through Dr. Zelenko's Z-Stack supplements and from QE Strong. Dr. Zelenko's Z-Stack supplements are truly amazing and are available to my listeners for a 5% discount per purchase or a 10% discount for a monthly subscription using the promo code FTLB. You may have heard my interview with Rob Renee about QE Strong. Discover the benefits of quantum energy to overcome all sorts of ailments. Visit QEstrong.com and use the promo code FTLB at checkout to receive your discount. Then my newest affiliate I'm really excited to bring you is Q Streaming. That's CUE Streaming Television. People with United States addresses can get over 3,000 channels, including live TV with streaming television without a contract. Get all of your local networks and favorite movie and sports and pay-per-view channels for about half of what cable costs. See the video promo link in the show notes to learn more. Affiliate sponsors only provide financial support to me when you purchase what they offer. So before you support Amazon or any other retailer, if I offer what you're looking for, please purchase through me. When it comes to special occasions, birthdays, or Christmas gifts, consider my books, jewelry, CDs, and more from my web store or any of the affiliate goods and services I offer. When you purchase from my web store, be sure to use the promo code TRUTH, TRUTH, to receive a 20% discount. Again, you'll find all the links in the show notes. If you like the content and resource material I bring you with this podcast, you'll find much more by connecting with me through my blog. In fact, my blog has been awarded 2 unsolicited awards for Christian content. And I'm also very active on social media. I can cover much more on social media than I can with this weekly podcast. And if you're not already subscribed, Please subscribe to my complimentary bi-monthly e-newsletter. I offer encouragement, special offers, and one of my signature recipes with each and every edition. Yep, I'm a foodie and I love to entertain, which is why Faith, Family, Friends, and Food is a bonus segment of my bi-monthly e-newsletter. To receive even more, please be sure to check out my dedicated podcast listeners page, Beyond the Podcast. Here's where we can connect exclusively and you can download complimentary devotionals, resources, and more. On that page, I also ask you to help me learn more about you and what you want by completing the form visible once you scroll down that page. And something that is very easy for you to do and would mean a lot to me is for you to rate, subscribe, or comment on this podcast according to what your preferred listening platform allows. You know how it works. The more likes and subscriptions to this podcast, the more opportunity we have to expand the listening audience. And that means we can reach more people with the gospel message of Jesus while helping people learn how to better apply their Christian faith. I hope you'll join me next week and tell your friends and family to listen right here on Faith to Live By, where we learn how to gain spiritual victory over life's issues. Until next week, I'm Pam Christian, asking you to remember Christ died for us. The least we can do is live for Him.